Hello? Is this thing on? I'm going to assume somebody out there in the unknowable vastness of the ether is picking up these signals that are carrying my voice. You are listening to Azeroth Real News, where we tell you the facts the popular media don't want you to know. Our first bit of news is a mystery out of Ferolas. Over the last few weeks there have been reports of people wandering out of their homes and into the thick forest. None of them seem to have anything in common apart from living in the vicinity of Ferolas. These wanderers don't return and cannot be found despite numerous search efforts from the local authorities. Of course, these authorities are notoriously incompetent and are merely mindless enforcers of an oppressive government. So, as a dutiful reporter, I went out to investigate the matter personally. I arrived in a small town, the name of which I won't reveal for the protection of the townsfolk, who were absolutely lovely, by the way. My stomach rumbled audibly and one of the townspeople immediately gave me directions to the nearest hamburger duke. We don't have those in so I took the opportunity to taste every burger on the menu. I couldn't eat another bite if you had wedged open my mouth and stuffed the hamburgers down my throat, yelling, Grow fat and plump so your liver is large and succulent and that I may eat it as compensation for my gift to you, life. Nothing is free. Suffering is payment. The burgers were okay. Homemade is always better though. Anyway, in that village I spoke to a woman whose husband is one of the lamented missing villagers. She told me they'd been having dinner as usual at the very table we were sitting at that moment, when suddenly her husband had jerked his head up, nose in the air, and bolted outside. She could only tell me the place where she had last seen her spouse disappear into the thicket. Now, due to my exceptional geometrical skills, I could extrapolate the trajectory of the man with this information. Naturally, I followed suit. We continue after this short commercial message. The deep sadness in all of us, the existential unease we feel simply by existing, that feeling of insignificance when glancing at the immeasurable nothingness of space. The Thirsty Citizen Tavern in Anvilmar. Drink to forget. The price of comfort is just a few silver. Open every Sunday at 8:30. We continue with the scheduled broadcast. Just a few yards into the forest I smelled something delicious, like my mother's home cooking, but deep-fried and then coated with powdered sugar. I no longer needed my expert tracking ability and started following my nose. During this walk I had the time to appreciate the majesty of all the greenery. At least that's what the books would have you believe, that nature is pretty. But from my experience, nature is pretty icky. Everything is so moist and dirty. Why is it all so filthy? Have these forest dwellers never heard of basic cleanliness? I mean, just a quick wipe every week wouldn't kill you, would it? Honestly now. But anyway, after some time I arrived at a small clearing with a rather grotesque tree in the middle of it. The thing seemed ancient and unusually knotty. You'd think it was diseased, but all signs indicated that it was a paragon of healthy trees. On the ground, strewn around the plant, were several peach-sized fruits, of peach-type color too. But they weren't peaches, dear listener, unless they were peaches that happened to smell exactly like my mother's deep-fried, sugar-sprinkled home cooking. Now wouldn't that be something? And even though my stomach was set to burst its half-digested contents all over my insides, I almost felt like I could have one of them. There's always room for dessert, they say. As I was musing on this, a tall Tauren woman appeared out of the forest wall opposite to me. I tried to address her, but she seemed completely focused on the tree, or more specifically the fruit. She wandered up to the tree, mouth agape, picked up a peach from the ground and simply devoured it. She was obviously very content even though she only ate a fruit no bigger than her palm. You know that feeling after a big meal, where you just want to lie down? Well, this Tauren lady yawned, stretched, and gave the tree a big hug, falling asleep upright. At this point I realized the knots of the tree had a pattern. If you looked closely, you could make out the shapes of hands, heads, and legs. I saw the woman's fingers fuse with the bark of the tree. Man, nature sure can be scary. No offense, druids, I'm just calling them like I see them. Well, I hope you've been adequately entertained and, more importantly, informed by this broadcast. And remember, don't listen to the static, it tells only lies.